names later on.
I got you.
But you can deal with them.
Now that's one too. That is one, Alabama.
Just watch me. Just
Okay.
Just look at me.
Okay.
Don't move your chair. Just try to stay.
Okay. Okay.
Perfectly still.
Okay. Watch you on the camera or in person? Watch you directly or on the camera?
Just, just talk to me.
Okay.
The camera catch you.
Okay.
The camera got you. Don't just
Okay.
look at me when you talk.
Okay.
Like, I'm going to look at the camera and I'm turn around and look at
Two.
you.
Okay. Okay.
Look at me when you talk.
Okay.
Catch you. Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is stages or phases of African American music. Indeed, it's information dealing with the African American musical experience from Africa through the continents. And of course, we have with us to talk about the various stages or phases of the African American musical experience, Minister Gregory Taylor. And of course, Mr. Taylor, you've been with us on a number of occasions, and we've had an opportunity to hear some information in reference to some of your biblical and Christian experiences and et cetera, and the importance of music and et cetera. And so I thought maybe that this would be an excellent opportunity to talk to you about the various stages of the African American experience. That is, how African American music developed from the continent of Africa, and indeed how it spread throughout the world.
Yes. Yes, Dr. Haney, it's great to be back. And I would like to introduce myself. My name is Gregory Taylor from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And we have been discussing the music over the times that I've been here. And I'm a graduate of Selma University.
Very good.
And since I saw you last, I have become a member of the Civilian Conservation Corps Legacy membership. And those men's wishes are to be remembered in song down on the Bicentennial Mall. And so all of so many things I saw bringing together the music that is just absolutely incredible. But one of the things that we have completed is what I call a pipeline from West Africa. And in this pipeline, one of the sons of Africa have shared with me how the music was sang as they were coming into the transatlantic slave trade, you know. And coming into the transatlantic slave trade, the only thing that lasted, as Dr. Y.T. Walker said, was the rhythm in the music.
And so in a real sense, Mr. Taylor, I think we're saying here that when we look back on the continent of Africa, the Africans who came by way of the Middle Passage brought with them their musical experiences, and speak to that. I mean, what kind of music are we talking about when we deal with the African musical experience on the continent of Africa?
I understand that in Africa, everything, every day is done by music, you know, and that there was war music, you know, they used war music in the area of war, and when the music was, as they sang coming into slavery, it was unknown as to where they were coming from, going to, but they have been taught the memories of these songs in Africa. And there is different, you know, tribes that sing different things. They have different drum beats in Africa than what they have in other parts of America, the African American music. And it is basically those things. But what is most interesting is coming into the transatlantic slave trade and how horrible and difficult that was. But the only thing that lasts, again, was the rhythm. And when Booker T. Washington came back from Africa to America, he said that the children of Africa in the southern plantations have a note of sorrow in their music that you don't find in other African American music in the country of America. And
no, go on. And
okay.
This is the great Booker T. Washington,
yes.
founder of Tuskegee, Alabama. I mean, Institute in Alabama, the
yes.
school that you probably know well.
Yes.
But go on and
yes.
speak it.
Okay. And he said that the children in the southern states, we have a note of sorrow in our music, and it's really not understood in a lot of other African American communities in America, and it's one of the reasons for conflict in terms of music. Even here today in the area of music, you have disconnects where if they could bring the music together, it would do so much to help heal the country. One of the radio hosts at WHBB, Randy Williams, he said that if the African American community respected the power in their music, it would do a lot to do away with the violence that is going on today. And in the church that I came up in Alabama, we were taught the old spirituals before we got the scriptures. And this way it would always stay with you and that type of thing.
You learn the scriptures through music, through song in a real sense.
Yes, we were, this is where Dr. Harvey, Otis Harvey would say, the old songs were born in the hearts of our ancestors in the fields, and they are our anchor in America and the means by which our ancestry passes from one generation to the next.
And so what we're going to do, Minister Taylor, is to take our first commercial break, and then we'll come back and we'll give you an opportunity to talk about the African music as it will now appear in the New World. And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. About it.
Okay.
You know, because I'm gonna be over here, and I hate to be throwing that trash in the audio. But
I got you. I was wondering about that.
No,
I tried to ask you if I was speaking loud enough.
No, you're not speaking. You weren't speaking loud. Speak it up. Speak out to it. Okay, and I'm gonna. Let me set the tone for when to come back.
We passed the...
No, this is 6 minutes, and now we're getting into the commercial. And then when I come back, this is 8 minutes.
Okay, now will this be the transatlantic? No, we are in America now.
Yeah, in America.
Okay, slavery.
Slavery,
okay.
Okay.
Slavery, okay.
Now I'm going to set the tone in terms of how I want you to speak and the
I got you.
Sound,
okay.
I
got you.
Because it's excellent information, but you seem to be holding it back and whispering to me, and I said, I don't know. But,
it's been a long time.
You're doing excellent. You're doing excellent. Because you got information. See, that's all it takes. You got information.
Yes.
So if you don't have any information, then it's a real problem.
That's right.
But I know you've got information because we've had you so many times before, and you're talking about it now. But I want you to sort of raise that level.
Yeah, this is the area which I'm most acquainted with.
Yeah. See, I've got 30 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you, and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Minister Gregory Taylor, and he's giving us some information in reference to the stages of African American music. That is, African American music from the continent of Africa. And in a real sense, I think, as you've already demonstrated, Minister Taylor, African American music will eventually go all around the world. And so let's pick up from where we left off and give you an opportunity to talk about it at where you wish to start.
Sure. now I can pick up in the area of the Deep South. And in the Deep South, as I had said about Booker T. Washington and the late Dr. Owens Harvey, who said, the old spirituals, this is very important, the old spirituals were born in the hearts of our ancestors in the fields. And in the Caribbean, they even referenced to the fact that they knew when they got out of slavery that they didn't have health care or anything like that, but their medicine was in the music. And that's the same thing here in America. And in the area which I came up in, we were taught to always stay near the church where the old songs are sang, because they are our anchor and they're the means by which our ancestry passed from one generation to the next. And the church was like our musical hospital. The first civil rights movement actually took place in Mississippi in a music studio. It wasn't the one that people think it actually was. And I recall when they rewrote the songs in the 60s and went into the streets and sang them. When they come back, Dr. Haney, they were not the same singers they left as. These are key points, and it's very important in order for us to bring the music back that will help heal the country. And one of the professors at Emory University has said, after studying all the families around the world, he concluded that the healing of the American family will start with the point of the old spirituals. And the maestro here, I heard him say in a chemistry class at Vanderbilt University that there's a composer who wrote that one day music will play a great role in saving the world. I believe that we are in that day today. And I've kept my music pure. I'm probably the purest person in America when it comes to music. And this past Sunday, I actually decided to only go to Sunday school, because I don't want to see, for me to make my music pure, to mix it up, that's lose money, you know. And so
when you say that you kept your music pure,
yes,
it means that you don't mix music that you use in Sunday school,
church,
right, with church worship music or worship music.
Right. No. I don't mix it. And one of the other things that have taken place here, the old songs which are born in the hearts of our ancestors in the fields, that was when the European American owned the field. And now I've connected the old songs to a fourth generation farm, you know, in reference to the fact of mentioning to you that we discovered that have inherited a farm in Alabama. So what you have here, that's the heart of the America. The country is the
farm, the land
and the music.
Yes, that's
you know,
the land
that
and
was
the
born
music.
out of the land. Yes,
Yes.
And one of the other things we have got to go back and do, we have got to look at the side effects of the music from the 60s. And see, like a lot of African Americans have OD'd on the MLK dream and this freedom song, suffering from mental indigestion of the 60s. You can't sing. Well, you can't sing nothing but freedom songs and protest music, you know. And these are things we have got to discuss. And you know, Dr. Haney, I believe today we have got to do more discussing music rather than singing music.
Well, I think that's what we're trying to do here now, Minister. That is to talk about the music that you know, and the music that we've used for all kinds of purposes. I think you've indicated that music was used in the civil rights movement.
Yes.
It was a way that we protested.
Yes.
But we also know that music was also an element of entertainment.
Yes.
When
that's right.
we talk about slavery and the African musical tradition during that period, how did Africans express themselves in music on plantations?
Well, one of the excellent examples of that is about 2005. Oprah Winfrey had a gala, and she had all of those singers to come together. Maria Shriver, one of the ABC News persons, and they were all singing what I call the modern entertainment type hymns and spirituals. And you had the young singers there, and they were just amazed because they had never seen this aspect of our heritage before. Everybody was amazed, but one of the key things, and I think Sidney Poitier said this, that it was so spontaneous. You know, you can't control it. And in the spontaneity of the music is what makes it what it is. And what I remember was the singer named, I believe, Alicia Keys. She actually caught the spirit of the music. She said, this is something that we have got to keep going. And see, I understand that, Dr. Haney, and that means that the music is not taught, it is caught. And by me keeping mine pure, I'm able to go back and connect the music. And the only thing that I can show you what I mean here is when money when writing was added to money, it never separated, you know.
What do you mean when people started to write songs for money?
No. This is way back there. When money was first, writing was first added to money, it never separated, you know. And so I keep in my music pure because I know there's medicine in it. It is needed today to help heal. And Dr. Bradley's music was used in the 60s to diffuse racial tension, you know, across the country. And then that mentioned about President Reagan's funeral music. All of those hymns in President Reagan's funeral music, I grew up on them, every one of them, you know.
As a matter of fact, when you talk about Dr. Bradley, I think you're speaking of one of the great pioneers in reference to African-American music, spiritual music, and et cetera. So what we would like for you to do, Minister Taylor, when we come back is for you to devote some time in terms of this great pioneer, because I think that most of the music that we hear today, spiritual music and et cetera, will come primarily out of some of the things that Dr. Bradley did, and the most important thing, I think he lived in Nashville, Tennessee. Is that right?
Yes,
and
born in Memphis.
Okay, so we've got about a minute, and then we want you to start talking about some information in reference to that experience, and then when we take our second commercial break. But I think that some of the information that you're giving now is excellent, and I think it's the kind of information that we want to use, but we want to wrap it around an individual that you believe. I know because we've had conversations in reference to Dr. Bradley before. As a matter of fact, I think you gave me a book dealing with Dr. Bradley, and so I know that you've got a lot of information in reference to it. And so when we come back, then we'll talk about Dr. Bradley, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. I missed it on. I didn't know where I was, but when you said a minute, I figured that I would try to run that minute out. And so here we come. Back with this 10-minute part, and so some enthusiasm, whatever in reference to. You understand?
Yes. I got it.
And take command of this thing.
We got it.
This is your information, so I want you to start talking about Dr. Bradley and his information. And we've got 10 minutes.
10 minutes? Okay.
10 minutes.
Okay. This is the last 10 minutes.
Yes, the last 10 minutes of the show. You see. And just, and we'll come back. I'll introduce the topic again. And we use Dr. Bradley as an example of what music really is. You can talk about some of his experiences, how you knew him, or how people knew him, and what they said about him, and et cetera, going to England, and all of that kind of information. We've got 10 minutes to talk to him about. This is going to be the highlight. I'll make this the biggest part of the discussion itself. This 10 minutes. You've given me some excellent information up until now.
Thank you.
I want you to know that. Yes, sir. God is good.
Yes, He is. Yes, He is. Sure He is.
He is. He has kept us all this time. That means you sitting up. Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Minister Gregory Taylor, and he's giving us some information dealing with the stages of the African-American musical experience from the continent of Africa throughout the world. And I think, Minister Taylor, we can pick up during this last 10 minutes and give you an opportunity to talk about one of the individuals that can bring in a large number of other names and et cetera that played such an important part in the musical experience. And this is Dr. Bradley. Talk about Dr. Bradley.
I grew up with Dr. Bradley singing in Alabama. One of my friends who considered herself to be the #1 fan said he's an unknown superstar. Sang all over the world, sang in China, Paris, France, and we're getting his CD back into those different countries. His name is in granite on the quarter 3 stars, just about 100 feet away from the Civilian Conservation Corps marble plaque. And what we are doing here, Dr. Haney, we are bringing together the music of Sir J. Robert Bradley to fulfill the wishes of the CCC camp men. And on that stone down there, it said that few men have the opportunity to touch as many thousands as those men did over the years. And also that they say at the end, if they see fit to remember us in song, they will consider that their ward. And I have to mention this gentleman too. His name is Charlie Fletcher in Cleveland, Tennessee. He was a CCC campman since about 96 years old. That's about the age my father would have been. But in reference to Sir J. Robert Bradley, it's all connected. And I have had the opportunity to meet architect Kim Hinton of the Bicentennial Mall. And the meeting was so important, Dr. Haney, that I went to visit his church to see what kind of music they were listening to. And that idea came from me reading about where when Sir Winston Churchill met Franklin Eleanor Roosevelt, he had them to play Onward Christian Soldiers because that was during war. And see, I am a child of World War II. My father was there, you know. And so all of these things were coming together, and the purpose of it is to help protect the country because I have inherited what it means to be safe and sound. And if I can't be safe, I can't be, you know. And but Dr. Bradley, music was used from the East Coast to the West Coast in order to diffuse tension. And his website, I don't know if I could give that out.
Yeah, go give that.
The website is jrobertbradley.com. And his music, the book, we are working on he's due out on a postage stamp any day now. And we are just hoping that this will help create safe communities, create an atmosphere, because our people, I don't think it's racism, I don't think it's bullying. I think it's an emotion from the 60s that have turned into a virus, that this music used to debrief us from that, or help us to shed those emotions of that era. And these are areas where we got to go, and music is the key for doing that. And Dr. Bradley sang for the Queen of England in 1955. It's in his book. I've always been, we were on your show, Dr. Amos Jones and I, talking about his book, and he sang for the Queen of England. And I have received 4 letters from the Queen of England in regards to Dr. Bradley's music, you know. And so it is just absolutely incredible for someone to invest in his music back then. And I, not to overthrow the government or anything, but I listened to God Save the Queen. And the reason for it, it keeps my memory of all the hymns that we sang here in America fresh. And see, a lot of the music is stale today, you know. And this is the way to keep it fresh, is to listen to those different songs. And when I visited Kim Hinton's church, I think it's the Hillsborough United Methodist Church, and I went in there, Dr. Haney, and they were singing, I want Jesus to walk with me. And I said, they are singing more I am than we are, you know? And so it's these type of things that's happening with the music now, and we have got to get back to this to save the country.
You know, one thing about Dr. Bradley, his beginning.
Yes.
Talk about that,
yes,
because I think
that's right.
That's he, Booker T. Washington,
right.
several, many others during that period were able to rise to great fame.
That's
but
right.
Talk about his beginning.
Dr. Bradley grew up very poor. For a long time, he didn't have shoes. And there's a story in this book about where they were hungry and they didn't have any food. And he told his mother to forget God or something, and his mother got on him because she had trained him to sing in prenatal. And my mother marked me by the church, and the prophet Samuel But also, Dr. Haney, where I can relate to him, my mother was hungry and pregnant with me. And sometimes I can complain like a hungry, pregnant black woman. But in the reason, it's all there. But the music does so much to help today, the atmosphere. And there needs to be more of Dr. Bradley's music on the radio. If Southern Baptists and National Baptists would sponsor Dr. Bradley's music on the air, I guarantee you it'll do a lot to diffuse the tension. And he wrote someone in England and let them know that he sang at the University of Alabama during the time of the problems between the African Americans and the Caucasians. You know, I was just in the 3rd grade then. But I remember all of those times and things that were going on there. He sang at Stillman College, sang at the University of Alabama, and then there's a gentleman here in Nashville by the name of Charlie Parker. He heard him at Sanford University, and there's a testimony he sent me in order to share with others and how Dr. Bradley talked about that if you love, say you love everybody, you know, and you don't love me, these things like that, the music broke out, you know. And but he has an incredible story. And I told him to, when I came to Nashville in 1978, I visited him in his home. And I told him, I said, I was afraid of you, Dr. Bradley, because you would make the people sing in the choir, and I couldn't. So I didn't go, but I did go to church to listen to him, and he said, oh, that's all right. You know?
So you had an opportunity to meet him face to face and go inside his home?
Yes, he was living in the Capitol Towers, and this is what he shared with me there. He said, never insult a person in speech. And he also said to me how kind the Queen of England was to him while he was there.
That's an extraordinary statement, and really for him to be called to England by the Queen, and she having a desire to hear him, and of course she and her court, I'm sure, that's an extraordinary accomplishment for a person who came. Now he was from Memphis, was he?
Memphis, Tennessee, dirt poor, and also Dr., let me not forget, Dr. I think Melvin Townsend at Sun School Publishing Board. He was responsible for sending him to England to the Trinity School of Music to be educated, and his purpose was to come back to America in order to teach his people how to sing the old songs. And this is what we are trying to continue doing today. And I remember he had several opportunities. The man who was over one of the big radio stations or radio makers on would have taken care of him if he had stayed in England for the rest of his life. But he would let them know he had to go back because of how he was sent there. You know, and by us having kept the music pure, we were not allowed to leave the church and rewrite the songs to go into the streets to sing them. And therefore, that means my memory of his music is pure. And I grew up on a multicultural street. There were Koreans, Choctaw Indians, African Americans. My sisters were going to Africa, Stillman, and I met Africans then. So my whole life has been multicultural. And here recently, I mentioned to you, I discovered that just at September 23rd, that my brother was Caucasian, you know, and that has caused me to realize, you know, that humorously speaking, Dr. Haney, I can be half Oreo, half apple, and have 8 colors, Crayola colors in me, because my father roots are from San
Well, that was a common situation in a real sense throughout these periods.
But when you discover it and you know actually what it is, it helps you to better yourself and well as others, you know.
It gives you a better understanding of everything in a real sense, and that life is really great. But its life is real.
That's right.
And so I think
that's right. It's
true.
But
during this last minute, Minister Taylor, let me thank you for bringing back what we consider to be some excellent information dealing with the African American musical experience. And I think one of the most important things that I got out of what we were talking about here today is the ability of the certain kind of music to have a great psychological impact upon people, whether it's through singing or through choirs or whatever, and that music is very, very important. And I want to thank you in a real sense for bringing that information by, and I want to encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.